Happy April Fool's Day to all the smiling faces out there. Today I'm going to teach you 3 basic tips for beginner photographers to start taking better photographs. So smile and watch this intro. It's been a tiring day and I should probably be changing out of my clothes. So, 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Damn, that was fun. I should do more of that more often. So, anyways, let's begin. Tip number 1, shoot in RAW. For those of you who do not know what RAW format is, it is a format that basically writes all the data that is fed into the camera from the sensor onto your SD card. In this manner, no data is lost, so no quality is lost. So now most of you will be having the question as to why shoot in RAW. Okay, number 1, RAW photos will have greater detail compared to JPG. Yeah, you can call whatever you want and I'll stick with JPEG, it's easy to say. So number 2, it will have higher brightness, and number 3, during post-production it will help you out a lot when you shoot in RAW, as you can manipulate the exposure and contrast and all the other things when you do in editing pretty much easily, while you will struggle when you shoot and try to edit a JPEG photo. There are many more reasons as to why you should shoot in RAW. You can Google it if you want, but I'm not going to say everything here as it consumes time. So you can see some of the examples where I compare two photos of RAW and JPEG right here.
Both these pictures were taken with the same settings and given the same edit. The only difference is one is JPEG and the other is RAW. And as you can see here, the RAW photo is both brighter and has much more detail compared to the JPEG photo.
So those are few of the reasons that you should be shooting in RAW format. Tip number 2, shoot in manual mode. Most of the photographers start shooting in auto mode as soon as they get the camera. But actually this can be a big disadvantage, as you cannot manipulate the photo in the way you want when you are shooting in auto mode. In manual mode you can change the ISO, shutter speed and aperture so that you can get the photo in whatever way you want. For example, if you want the photo to be darker, you can make it darker, and if you want the photo to be a bit overexposed, you can do that as well. But if you are shooting in auto mode, you cannot do this, as the camera will set it to the correct exposure level and shoot away. So if you want, so the best thing to do would be to learn to shoot in manual. It is really easy. You should know what each of the settings do. Shutter speed is basically the amount of time that takes for the mirror to go up, exposing the sensor, and to come down again, completing the shot. And aperture is the gap in your lens that lets the light into the sensor, and ISO is the sensitivity of your sensor for light. So basically that's about it. So if you want to capture a fast moving object, you should probably go for a higher shutter speed if you do not want it to be blurred out. And if you want to do long exposures, you can go for lower shutter speed, but of course that would require a tripod. When dealing with aperture, you can manipulate your depth in the photograph. If you want a greater depth between your subject and the background behind it, you can go for lower f-stops, such as 2.8 or below, like 1.4. And if you want everything to be in focus, you can actually go up a little bit to around 3.5 to 4. And Also, increasing the f-stop will slightly increase your sharpness as well. Finally, ISO. You can use ISO to balance the exposure after you have set the shutter speed and aperture. So basically, when you increase the ISO, the brightness increases, and if you decrease, the brightness decreases. It's the sensitivity of the sensor that changes. You should also know that when ISO is too high, there will be grain in your photos, like digital noise in your photos. So that's about it, guys. And if you want to know more, you can always Google it. And also, if you want to know how these settings are changed, you should type your camera model and Google it, because I can't explain everything here as it's different from camera model to model. So you can see some of my examples of shooting in auto and manual mode over there.
Here you can see two photographs, one shot in auto mode and one shot in manual mode, and none of these have been edited using any application except to put them together into one photograph. So you can see here that the photo shot in auto mode have been blown up, like it's slightly overexposed, and it can depend on the person's liking, but as the earphones were black, I wanted to change the exposure a bit so that it looked slightly darker, which would look drastic when the edit is done. Therefore, when you shoot in manual, you can manipulate the photo in whichever way you want, while if you shoot in auto, the camera just selects the exposure level and shoots. So that can be a disadvantage, especially if you need a very good depth, or you need to use higher shutter speeds, such as during a sports event.
Finally, tip number 3, flashing. This right here is a Meiki Speedlight MK950 flasher. I would recommend this for most of the photographers, as it is really good and it's not that expensive as well. You should know that I'm not paid to advertise this or anything, but it's a personal reference. This thing here is really good. Okay, so what should you know about using a on-camera flasher, not the inbuilt one, the one that comes on top like this? So what most photographers do when they begin to flash from this is that they turn it like this towards the subject and shoot away. That would cause many problems. First of all, the light would be too bright for your subject, if it's maybe animal or a model or human or I don't know, anything. So that would cause the subject to flinch, and you will mostly end up with your photo having the subject's eyes closed. So that would be a great disadvantage, and also the light would look unnatural in your photograph when you flash like that. So the best thing to do is to turn this upwards like this and bounce the flasher off a surface up there. Just in case you are in a place where there is nowhere to bounce, you can turn this to a side where you can bounce it off a wall like this, or if it's a position where there's nothing at all, you can pull this card out. The light would hit the card and go towards your subject. If the surface up is really good for bouncing, you can make it even better by turning it right around and bending it backwards 1 or 2 points. So in this way, you will have to increase your power, but you will end up with a natural looking great photograph of your subject that you are photographing. So that's about it for flashing. I will include some examples here so that you can really see the difference, and you should totally check this flasher out. It's awesome and I use it for most of my events. I guess I'll let you judge which photograph is better in the flashing example. So basically that's it for the tips today, guys. They may seem pretty basic, but I'm actually targeting the beginner photographers here who do not know on how to take a good photograph. So I hope this helps you. I would like to tell you to play around with your camera, play around with your settings, and you will end up with a good photo. I'm pretty sure that shooting in RAW manual mode and bouncing your flash, all three together would give you a very better photograph, especially if you haven't been doing these things already. So that's it for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and hit that like button and subscribe.